Right. Whatever they have to put to make sure you have.
Order, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. Good good to see you. First thing on the agenda here is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was May the 23rd, 2023. Are there any corrections, comments, changes to those minutes? No? If not, those are approved as submitted. Report of the town manager. Mr. Warner is actually in Europe, so Chief Lewis is acting as the town manager. Chief Lewis, is there anything you would need to pass on to council this evening?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Appearances before council, we have no one signed up to speak this evening. Council comments, Mr. Harvick, if you want to start adjourning.
I want to start by welcoming everybody to the meeting. Thank you for coming out. Also, obviously Bart is over in Europe, and I hope he has a good time over in Europe, and he'll be able to have some of the good candy while he's over there, and I hope that he has safe travels, not only throughout Europe, but on his way home. And tonight's going to be an exciting night, and I think a lot of people have been looking forward to.
Mr. Harrison.
I'm gonna pass.
I just wanted to say that last week, the Bedford Boys Tribute Center put on a nice event downtown with the reef laying. Had a pretty significant number of people there, so just wanted to tell Kim Parker and everybody that was involved, that was a great job that they had last week.
Mr. Carson.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I had the privilege of being part of a program that was put together by the Chief of Police and Officer Travis for the community at the auditorium at BEC. It was a very informative, a very interesting program, something that I hope we'll continue with and get more people involved in. But it was very interesting and I enjoyed it.
I'd just like to make a few comments. The Memorial Day weekend obviously is always a big event here in town. It was extra special this year. We had the Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Sears, spend 3 days here in town. If you didn't have a chance to interact with her, she was very engaged in learning what was going on in Bedford, and I think we'll be back again. And then the governor was here on June 6th as well, so it's always good to have our state leaders visiting our community and seeing everything that's going on. Also had an opportunity to attend a meeting from a group called Bedford Get Together. It's a private group here in town, nonprofit. That's Mr. Johannesson, Mr. Haley was there. They're working on a potential mural project on a private building in downtown Bedford, so that was interesting to hear some of their ideas and see where that will go. But that's all I've got for right now. All right, so report of council committees. I don't believe any committees have met since the last time. And revisions to the agenda. We do have, and I'll see what the consensus there is. There was a closed session for discussion concerning the prospective industry, and that's kind of tied to the performance agreement. If we don't have any questions for the attorney or feel any need to go into closed session to discuss that any further, then we can strike that from the agenda, but just wanted to see what everybody's thought was on that. Anybody have any?
I don't.
All right. Okay, we're going to remove that item from the agenda then, and we'll just go into and make that revision to the agenda. So the first item on new business is the resolution authorizing the performance agreement for a hotel development. You want me to, or is someone? Ms.
Chief
White?
had asked me to read it.
Okay, if you want to read that, the action plan.
The town of Bedford, through its Economic Development Authority, has been working to bring a business-class hotel to the town. After conducting a hotel study in 2021, the study was used to talk with potential hotel developers. One of the respondents has been working with the EDA to locate a selected brand hotel on land owned by the town. Town council has also discussed appropriate incentives to leverage toward the project. In order to award these incentives and ensure town interests are protected in this project, a performance agreement is required between the town council, town EDA, and the selected developer, D-Day Almstay LLC. The performance agreement that was developed defines the minimum brand of hotel that is acceptable, a minimum room count of 75, and a meeting room that will hold 100 people. In exchange for these performance measures, the town would transfer land to the developer. The agreement also provides an incentive structure based upon the estimated values of hotel occupancy tax and real property tax improvements on the site. The EDA authorized signing of the performance agreement at its meeting on June 9th, 2023, pending clearance of title of the property to be conveyed. The action requested is town council is requested to adopt the attached resolution authorizing entrance into the performance agreement. Ms. Zirkle and I have both been up to our elbows in putting this agreement together, and we're both willing and hopefully able to answer any questions you have.
All right, do we have a motion to authorize the transfer of certain property to the Economic Development Authority of the town of Bedford?
I make a motion to adopt the attached resolution, authorize entering into the performance agreement.
All right,
Second.
so we have a motion and a second. Discussion, comments? Mr. Carson, no? Mr. Sherlin?
Actually don't. We've talked about this quite a bit already. I don't have any. I read through it.
Mr. Haley?
Same way, we've read through it, we've talked to the developer, and I think we're okay.
We're good to go as far as I'm concerned.
You know, I've read through it. This is something that people have been wanting for quite a while. And you know what? I think this is a good deal. And you know what? Eventually, we're going to be able to start making a little bit of money. Instead of gain nothing, we'll start gain something, maybe not right away, but down the road, it'll be more revenue for us. And it's also going to be something that will bring more people into our town. And all I know is we need something that's going to draw more people into our town to come to our shops, come to our restaurants. Every little thing we can do to draw people here, let's go for it.
All right, one, I'd like to welcome the Patel family here tonight. You know, we appreciate your willingness to invest in our community and bring your business class hotel to Bedford. Second, we'd be remiss if we didn't thank Jonathan Butcham, the chairman of the EDA, and all the EDA, and Mary Zirkle. I mean, they have been behind this from the get-go. It was their #1 item on their strategic plan to bring a business class hotel to town. You know, we kind of had the easy work. I mean, they've done all the heavy lifting and deserve all the credit. You know, we put a very good incentive package together. I think it's been a lot of back and forth. You know, the performance agreement, I think, protects both sides. And I also would be remiss if I didn't thank, you know, Bedford County and their EDA, and you know, they're playing a part in this as well, and the Water Authority. You know, a lot of those discussions we had early on about you know, the sewer capacity and committing money, all three bodies committing money to improving the sewer capacity. Well, you know, the biggest part of that was to make sure we could bring a business class hotel to town. So, like I said, I'm excited. I look forward to you breaking ground, and for people to come and have a place to stay, you know, as they tour our county and our town. I look forward to the boost that it's going to provide our other businesses in town, restaurants and shops. So once again, thank you. You know, I know it's been a long road to this point. You're not there yet. I know there's plenty of work to be done, but you know, we're thankful that you have chosen Bedford to build this business class hotel. So with that, that's all the comments I've got, and we'll move into roll call.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johannesson?
Aye.
Mr. Sherwin?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, while we're on economic development, I've asked Mary and John and Mr. Buttram to come and kind of give us an update on their activities. They've got some other good stuff going on, and I think it's good that we hear from them, at least on a regular basis, and so we're all informed of what the good work they're doing. So, Mr. Buttram, we'll let you have the show.
Thank you. I'm actually here to inform and not request for the first time, actually. Everybody relax. Yeah, thanks for the invite. I think it's important for probably do this more often. A lot of the stuff we do is kind of behind closed doors. We keep it really hush-hush because it's always transaction related. And but the stuff that isn't transaction is open and the public can come. It's this second Friday at 1 o'clock, once a month, we meet here. So anyway, when I became chairman, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. We are going to talk about the Winoa project, and that's really the reason you have a packet in front of you. But before I get into that, I want to give you a little bit of background. I don't know, was it 3 or 4 years ago I became chairman. When I became chairman of the EDA was primarily a reactive organization. We were reacting to things that were coming down the pipe. Some of that, and you have an example. I don't know if Mary, I think she handed out this. One of the big things, and it's a big part of our organization, the EDA, the authority, is to react to grant requests. And we have several different programs. Property, if you're downtown and you do something to your property, and we'll give you a break on it. We'll write you a check. Facade signs. If you bring 3 or more jobs to town and it's technical related, we have a program to throw money at you on that one too. So as you can see, we do a lot of that. And again, I got to remind, our annual budget's about $130,000 a year. So there is a limit on what we can do. But I'm going to talk more about our plan to increase that budget without asking you guys. As an example, this year, year to date, we have we've allocated almost $23,000 in grants. We have work going on down at the bank building. We had some museum work. We had facade work on the other side of Main Street. I suspect we'll more than double that when those requests to compensate for that. And there's other stuff I don't know about. So that's an example of reactive stuff. There's other things on this sheet. Mary, if you want anything that she wants to say related to that. I mean, she does most of the other stuff as far as a day-to-day basis. But we have advertising, do advertising on billboards, to grants from Otterbus to Bransfield Assistant Fund for the cleanup of Winoa. We had we'll talk more about that. Anyway, we got some other stuff going on. I think a rail stop initiative. Plus, we have websites that we maintain, Facebook, that type of thing. So, if there's any questions about this, I'll just. You have anything you want to say, Mary? Okay. So, that was the first thing when I came chairman, I was like, we got all this reactive stuff. Middle school was another example. You guys you did all the heavy lifting on that, but you came to us to make it happen. So we ended up working with you to pass it through the EDA. That was a reactive project for us. COVID, we gave out $43,000 $5,000 grants during COVID. Great idea. You guys came up with the idea. I was driving home to Charlotte and you gave me a call. Hey, what do you think about this? Great. But we were assigned to come up with the program to make it happen. How do you give out money and what are the stipulations? I was kind of proud of that. That's the reason I bring it up, because the state of Virginia came to us and looked at what we did as an example of what the rest of the state could do. So anyway, that was pretty neat. But it was like, okay, now it's time. We need to be proactive. Reactive gets us a lot of stuff, but to get to the next level, we really got to attack things and be proactive at it. And to do that, the EDA had to really come up with a strategic plan, so we all were firing from the same platform. Everybody agreed this is 1, 2, and 3 of what we wanted to do. And so we adopted that plan on May 2021. So it's been a couple years ago. The first priority was a business class hotel. Now, that's the reason a lot of us are here tonight for is the interest of this hotel. I've never done a hotel before. I thought it was a good learning experience, and so we went full-fledged right out of COVID. Like, I don't think this is ever going to work. The town of Benton announced that they had success in landing a business class hotel, and they used a convoy. So we called them up, said, "How'd you do it?" So they turned us on to a DPC Hospitality, David Parker down in Houston. And so we brought him up, and they did us a market study to evaluate whether or not this was something that a developer would be interested in. And that's what you need. You need that market analysis. So they did that. And the other thing that was really important is to be able to bring something to the table. This is an undeveloped market. Bedford, it has hotels, but it doesn't have a business class hotel. And you're talking, Marriott, Hilton, Holiday Inn when I say business class. Right? And so we didn't realize it until somewhere in the middle of that hotel study that, hey, the town owns a chunk of land right at the base of the D-Day Memorial. What a wonderful site to have a hotel. I wonder if we could offer that up. And so we came to Bruce's property committee, which ended up coming to all you guys and everybody, 100% support from you guys, and the whole town council really pulled through for us on that one. So we had two things that we really needed. The other would be incentive packages and that type of thing. So it was a multi-step thing. The next thing was to identify a developer. We talked to several and ended up finding Ahmed here, and couldn't be more pleased with that, actually. We negotiated land procurements. There's adjacent properties we needed for entrance, access, egress, that type of thing, and some to give us more room to have retainment ponds for runoff and that type of thing. We initiated land negotiations between Ahmed and the D-Day Memorial. We initiated tax rebate negotiations with the town and Ahmed. You guys really did pull through that on that too, as well as with the county. We initiated those negotiations. We worked, and this was a big one, and I know you've already said this, but we worked with the Water Authority. Brian Key, I give him a lot of credit. He came up with some innovative ways of trying to make this thing work to get sewer capacity, and you guys and the county Board of Supervisors came through, and we got over that huge hurdle. We helped develop performance agreements, MOUs, all this standard stuff that I'd never done before, but it was fun to learn how all this stuff works to get a hotel, and it's a long process. The last thing we did was we developed a press release, and that's probably going to be out tomorrow, and that's going to be the official next step. Pretty much the action you took tonight greases the rails. There really isn't any major thing that'll keep this from happening that I know of. So we're going to issue our press release tomorrow. And so anybody in the press that wants to know that, talk to Mary Zirkle. But this is a big win for the town of Bedford, and really for Bedford County, because Bedford County is the 5th largest county in the state of Virginia, and they do not have one business class hotel. You can understand that in Bedford. But it's almost unbelievable that the county does. This is their first business class hotel. So it's a big deal for both, everybody. It's a big win for everybody. So that, we're not taking it off the list until we break ground, but it is, we satisfied number 1 of our strategic plan. Number 2 was to redevelop a business park, a business center, something where we could direct businesses. Maybe we used to have the business for the Bedford Center for Business, but that was taken away as our business park. as part of the reversion to the county. County now controls it. If you don't control it, you don't own it, you don't control it, you don't negotiate for it. It's just not something we can really do. We work with the county when they come over and ask us to, but for the most part, it's not something that we push. We need our own land so we can do special deals like everybody knows happened in here. So, so the Bedford business, so we're trying to figure out what do we want to do, how do we do this, and so what happened was Wanoa closed in June 2020, laid off around 38 people, and this magnificent building, and it's very dirty, but it's magnificent from my perspective. Didn't come on the market. We went to them. They knew they had a lot of environmental issues, and we just went to them and said, hey, you guys work with us so we can try to make up for the 38 jobs that you lost. Make it affordable, do what you can, and we will guarantee you that you will sell it as soon as you get it cleaned up, and we'll buy it the day after it's cleaned up. And they liked that idea. They wanted to contribute back to the community, and so they worked with us on negotiating a price. And so then we said, okay, we're going to get this building. What are we going to do with it? And that's where this prospectus came from. This thing you see in front of you. And so we'll go back to the prospectus now, and we'll go to the specifics of the project. But the problem, the Roanoke-Lynchburg region has a serious deficit in skilled labor that they need to sustain the local metal fabrication industry. And a lot of people don't realize that the Roanoke-Lynchburg metropolitan area ranks in the top 5 of the number of metal fabrication businesses in the whole nation. It's a big deal for this region, metal fabrication. We just didn't pull it out of our hat. It's also the reason that the Central Virginia Workforce Development Board has said this has a strong funding potential. You couple that with what's going on in Richmond and some of the programs they're putting together as far as workforce development. There's a lot of money that's going to be thrown at projects like this. It was like, hey, it might be something worth looking at, you know. This is a 60,000 square foot facility that we have. Well, let's make it into a VOTEC school, basically. It's specialized in metal fabrication, or at least look at it and see where it goes from there. So our solution is to create a first-of-a-kind regional workforce development center consisting of teaming with public and industry private industry partners in the development of a first-class teaching facility. Now, when I say public, you say, who's public? Well, CVCC, early on, CVCC, we had a meeting with them over at the Wanoa complex, and they were very excited about it. In fact, they're one of the reasons that pushed us to continue on. It's like, no, don't give up on this. This is something we need. We'll be part of it, you know, if you want us to be. And they're a team player up to this point. And so, also, I'm not sure what part, but I'm on almost weekly conversations with Virginia Tech, and I'll talk more about that too. But it's on their radar, at least the engineering, materials engineering and science department head. He's really excited about what I'll talk to you in a few minutes about. But so there's this training gap. There's also the training gap exists between certificate programs, and I'm talking about welding 101 or whatever, that type of thing that you see taught at the community college, and the specific skills needed by local industries. Now, the industries, you go and you get your, let's say, your flex core welding certificate. That's your golden ticket that gets you into some metal fabrication company. But once you're there the first day, they say, okay, forget about necessarily everything you learned there. We got to teach you what we do, and on the machines that we use. It's called industry-specific training. There is no facility right now that really provides that. Very little of that happens. It's always the industry-specific training is always shouldered by the industry that hires the kid. Sometimes it's very simple, so you just follow Joe around for 2 weeks and learn what he does. And sometimes it's very dangerous in foundry situations where you have molten steel and that type of stuff in a production environment where you have And I've been told, my brother-in-law used to work at Roanoke Electric Steel, and and basically he said it's really scary for some of these new hires to come in there and they don't know what they're doing, and you got all these dangerous things happening around you. So that's one of the things that we have space. And the reason you don't see that is you don't see a facility that's really dedicated, that has the machinery there that the company can come in. Hey, we can send you over to the Bedford Center, and they have a metal brake, and we'll teach you how to bend metal using their machine. And when you come in, we know you know what to do. A prime example of this is, and this was in the news last week or two, was the nuclear technology program at CVCC. Framatome is sponsoring that, to having CVCC train these 2-year program, training those kids, maybe not kids, but anyway, those students on how to do everything they need them to do. And that's it. It's probably no history classes. It's all probably remote wiring and robotics and that type of thing. So that's another thing that we see a need, and we have this big facility that we might be able to address that for local companies and companies that want to move here. Hey, we got a training center, you know. That's an attractive thing for a lot of companies. Industry partners benefit from exposure to potential new employees. So if you have this school that's popping out kids that know how to do stuff, industry want to be here around it. They want to get close. They want to be integrated with it. And that's another thing that we think might happen, that we hope will happen over here, is we'll have companies that want to move here ultimately. It's happening in Danville. I'll talk about that later. Students benefit from the exposure from industrial environments. So the kids, you get they get hands-on training. That's what I'm trying to say here on this last bullet. We have machines that they can use, and they will benefit greatly from that. They come out knowing how to do something instead of just knowing how they think they know how to do something. So let me get to the specifics of what we're talking about here. That's kind of the overview of this prospectus. The facility, it's at 1 Abrasive Avenue in Bedford. It's the old Wheelabrator factory for those who lived here for a while. It's on 16 acres. It's on an M1 zoning lot. It's surrounded by a lot of M1 zoning as well. We had to expand possibly. 60,000 square foot total, and consists of 3 large high bays. Each a separate high bay going from 34 to 40 feet high. Now, the high bays are really nice because you can do just about anything in a high bay safely. If you have a confined space, there's a lot of things you can't do in a room this size. You know, there's restrictions, but when you have a 40-foot ceiling, you know, you can weld all day, you can have multiple, you can do a grind, you can do anything you want. You can melt steel. Talk about that in a minute too. It also has 2 warehouses, and it has a central training area, which is kind of it's a really cool place. It has a mezzanine with labs across the back, and there's some of those pictures you'll see in your packet. Also has a Norfolk Southern rail spur. It was constructed in 1974. It's modern construction. It's not an old brick building that we're trying to convert from World War II or something. Got reinforced concrete floors. It's heavy. It's really compatible for heavy industry. Large, heavy things can be rested anywhere in that facility. It has 30-ton crane capacity. It's a 1/10 of a mile off 460. As most of you know, it's a 36-minute drive from Roanoke Center. It's 37 minutes drive from the Lynchburg center of town. So we almost feel obligated, to tell you the truth, to make this into a regional training center for both of the 2 largest cities in Southwest Virginia. And that's what we're going to do because of its location. It's also serviced by a 20 million watt transformer that sits up at one of the stations, I can't remember off the top of the head, and it's owned by Bedford Electric. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, John Wagner has agreed not to sell that. He has a standing offer, and I think he could get some money for that. And I'm going to tell him, as soon as I say we don't need it, sell it, but give me some time. And that transformer is needed to run an electric arc furnace or an induction furnace, which is used to melt steel. I'll tell you, and that's a big asset. That's a big asset for this facility. That's $1 million, probably close to $1 million asset. Somewhere to $750 to $1 million transformer. It's a very unique transformer. So everybody likes a comp. Okay, what do we have? you know, okay, so you go to the Center of Manufacturing Advancement, built a facility that's very similar to what the Winoa complex. Multiple high bays, a very industrial, brand new. It was 51,000 square feet. The state of Virginia paid $29 million to build that last year. We will own this building after August 1st, hopefully, if it goes to conclusion. Without lien, we pay cash. We own it. It's a big asset for the EDA. Another thing is it's right up the tracks from the proposed Amtrak station. What's that? Why is that important? Well, it could be important because if this center gets up and running, I'm personally going to leverage Richmond and whoever to put a train station there. Because if you're a kid in Roanoke and you want to take welding classes at our center, get on a 7 o'clock train out of Roanoke. You're in class by 8:30. You get out of class on a train back home by 1 o'clock that afternoon. If you're in Lynchburg and you want to take a class at our training facility, you get on an 11 o'clock train out of Lynchburg, you're back home by 5 o'clock. So all the morning classes can be for Roanoke. All the afternoon classes can be for Lynchburg students. So it's truly a regional center for training. You don't have to drive here, you can ride a train. We have the Otter bus, it's all taken care of. So we're looking at a three-pronged approach for this facility. The first is the CVC area, wherever they say they want to expand their certificate programs. I've heard something pipe fitting 101 to maybe some more welding. I'm not sure what they have in plan. Maybe they don't know yet, but they're running out of space down in Lynchburg and they need to expand their certificate programs. They also are interested in the second prong, which is what I was talking about, the industry-specific training component of it. They'd like to be more involved, like they are with Framingham with that nuclear technology program. So, but this facility, we have 2 high bays that could be used for that. It could be used for full-scale mock-up training. Let's say BWXT wants to do training on their full-scale microreactor program that they're in the middle of building. They could actually bring that 10-ton component, set it on there, and have training on a full-scale mock-up because we'll have cranes and everything that we need. Maybe Munters out of Botetourt County wants to train people, set up a laser welding booth and train kids on how to operate laser welding, automated welding. They can do that, rent a space right over to the edge. We might actually make a flex lab where we have one bay that has metal cutting machines to bending machines, forging machines, stamping machines, welding machines, all the way down to we have final finishing machines. This would be a multi-use flex lab where then companies can come in. I want access to that machine, and that machine to teach my kid, these new employees, on how to run things that are like that in our facility. These are the type of concepts that kind of run through my mind, and I'm not sure which one will stick, but we're going to throw them all up against the wall and see what kind of funding we can get for that. But that's kind of the three-pronged approach. There is a model. We have a model that we're looking at that I personally think, anybody that goes to Danville on 29 as you're going around and going in before you get to North Carolina, you see the Institute of Advanced Learning and Research. Nice big facility. It's kind of the model of economic development. Danville, companies are moving to Danville to be close to that center. And they cast a wide net. They do horticulture research to 3D printing, they do all kinds of stuff. It's very successful and companies are wanting to come to Danville. And so what we want to do is something very similar to that, but really focus on metal fabrication, not so broad. Just want to do metal fabrication. It's not that big a facility, and I think we can make something happen. So what's next? Well, we secured the building we secured it with a contract. It's under contract to buy. That was in January 2023. We're supposed to close on it on August 1st. What's been holding up our closing is the lagoon. People that remember that facility had a big pond or a lagoon beside it that was used for cooling of some of the process they had. It has to be signed, and it has been signed off by the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality as of last week, and now it's out for public discussion, and we hope to have, and that should be wrapped up in about 30 days, or a little bit more than that. We also, the abrasive avenue in front of the building, it will be conveyed to the town, so you guys are going to get a new street. And that Bison up on the hill is very excited about that because they'll have snow removal and that type of thing. And there's a sewage pump station right in front of the building that will be conveyed to the Bedford Regional Water Authority. That's a sewage pump that it's below the ground, that pumps sewage out of the Wanoa and the Bison. And so that really is something we didn't want a responsibility of that either. So those three things have to happen, and hopefully that will all happen soon, by the 1st of August. So what have we been doing? Mary and I have not been sitting around waiting for closing and then we get started. We've been very proactive, and we have secured a $316,000 grant from the Department of Environmental Quality, Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, to go in and de-energize the buildings, wrap up all the sensitive electronic equipment with plastic wrap, and then have a specialty company come in and pressure wash the inside of all the high bays. So we want to get them all clean. Right now, if you go in there, if Darren had his white shirt, he wouldn't come out with his white shirt. It would be, it's oxides, mill dust, is what we call it in the industry. We also, and we teamed up with Virginia, we went for a Go Virginia grant, Region 2 grant. Mary and I, we went to Pam, we all went up to Roanoke. Mary and I gave a presentation, and we were awarded almost $100,000 grant, put together a master plan, a big master plan for this thing. And that's really important because you can't go to Richmond or anybody else for money unless you have a big document that explains everything about the thing. And so they're going to go through, and we're going to feed them, whoever the consultant is, we're going to hire to put together basically how do we get from where we are to where we want to be, and identify funding sources and that type of thing. So we're going to secure, then once we have that, we'll secure funding and go through the whole thing of finding industry partners and securing up things with CVCC and all that kind of stuff. So what's this mean for Bedford? Well, I look at this center as kind of like a spring in the middle of a desert. And, animals all come, this is, if we can start producing able-bodied employees that know how to do things, companies will come here. Because we will be a source of talent. Companies like that. Bedford County's business parks will start filling up if this thing is really successful like it is in Danville. And we really, something I forgot, the third prong. Why didn't you tell me that? I was gone. The third prong, and this is really the exciting part. I said there's 3 prongs. The third prong is the foundry side of it. The Back Bay was built in '74 to be a foundry, and it was a foundry since '74 until 2020. And the reason that's important is there is no training foundry, no foundry dedicated, commercial scale foundry that is dedicated to training and research. All foundries in the United States are production only. And so that puts them into more of a rush class of thing. And so we're proposing, is there a need for this? Well, we got a letter of support from the American Foundry Institute saying, yes, there is a need for this. We got a letter of support from Virginia Tech saying, yes, this will complement our small little batch foundry we have in Holden Hall. Yes, we need a foundry for training, and that's why they're talking to us quite extensively, trying to find ways to fund this foundry thing. And so we also heard that the Navy is in need of about 100,000 metal fabrication workers that support the Navy, like Newport News shipbuilding and that type of thing. And foundry training is a big part of that. So we're working with that end of the thing. There's a lot of things we're doing I really can't talk about because it hasn't really developed. Having a lot of conversations with a lot of people about reconstituting a foundry. Now, and remember, there's probably at least 30 people, maybe 20 to 30 people that are in our environment, that are in our community that still have actual hands-on foundry experience. So we would be initially calling those people up, come over if we got an opportunity to put those people back to work too. So that third approach, that third prong, bringing back a foundry is a really high priority, and I want to see if we can really identify that within the next year so that John Wagner can then eventually take action on his asset if he needs to. So that's what we're really trying to do. It would be the first and only truly metal fabrication workforce development facility that does everything all the way up to melting steel. And casting industry, 92% of all products sold, durable goods, have some piece of casting in it, and that's why it's so important. So anyway, that's kind of a summary of what we're trying to do with this. I think it's a big thing for Bedford to be able to see if we can get this thing off the ground. It's not something that we have to do. This is something we want to try to do. And about a year about a year from now, I think we'll have the master plans in July, August next year. We're looking at talking to a couple smaller companies. We have a small warehouse. One company needs a rail spur. So we're talking about, that might be 3 jobs right off the bat. It's not really related to foundry, but we're trying to get them in there just to help pay the bills, that type of thing. And plus, if you don't use a Norfolk Southern rail spur for a few years, they take it away. So we will be doing some. We'll let you guys know these things type of happen. So that's pretty much all I have. I do want to say before I get off here that just a special thanks related to this hotel. To you guys, the town council. You guys were wonderful to work with. The town EDA members, they have my back 100% on just about everything. We were just talking about how we never argue about anything. Come on, we got something we gotta argue about. Mary Zirkle is just, I know everybody knows she's an asset to this town. So I wouldn't even come up with these ideas if I didn't have her support, because I wouldn't know how to get it done. And Brian Key, again, Bedford Regional Water Authority, I give him credit for working with us to find a solution. Robert Hiss and Pam Bailey from the county, they were instrumental in having this happen too. The county EDA and the county Board of Supervisors, give them credit too, just like you guys. I think they have another vote coming up soon. Our consultant out of Houston DCP Hospitality, Amit and Om Patel. Amit's almost consider him a friend now. Great to work with that family, and Amit's been really fun to work with. The D-Day Foundation, they're instrumental in making this happen. And Ted Craddock and Mike Lockerbie, putting all this stuff together, making it work at the end. It's been a heck of a week or so here. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for that too. So, are there any questions?
You've got something to say, Jonathan? Thank you for everything you do. You're a true asset to this town. Everything
Thank you, Bruce.
from this hotel to what you're gonna do with the Winoa project, make that into being able to train people to weld, melt steel. The only thing I'm wondering is there any plan for jobs involving computers, because that's what employers are looking for as well. And I also want to recognize the Patel family. Thank you for doing what you do.
To answer your question related to computers, I've had a couple people. This facility is not meant to be a computer. It's actually would be really bad to do a computer thing. We have 40-foot high ceilings. I think the lowest ceiling is probably 20 feet, but when the way that the whole building is fired up right now, when you hit an electric arc furnace and you get a boom like that, Sometimes you can see, we have to actually rewire some of the buildings so you don't have that surge, but that type of thing could be detrimental to a computer system. So it's really, we're doing what this building's built for. It's not, there's other buildings in town that would probably be better suited for that.
All right, thank you for everything you do.
Having worked in both Lynchburg and in Roanoke with heavy industry, what you're proposing is wonderful. I'd like to see it, and hopefully you'll follow through with it. There's always been, Lynchburg has, at one point, was 25% of it was heavy industry, which was amazing. It was one of the highest per capita in the country. It's since changed a little bit more toward university and education, but there's still a large manufacturing for the can industry, the processing of that things, and the same thing in Roanoke. So I'm glad to see that somebody's doing this, and we're located in a great place. Often thought we're between two good-sized towns or cities, and can't help but be a good thing for the Bedford area to be involved in this. So I'm glad to hear it.
I'll be surprised if we don't have a lot of interest. I mean, one of my customers is Banker Steel, and they're always looking for employees.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you know, Jonathan, I'm the same way. I want to thank you and Mary for both of these. And the Winoa project, when you mentioned this here a while back, I thought this was great. I was told several years ago there's a shortage for the trades, electrical, plumbing, and welding. My niece's youngest son graduated from high school last year, went to a 9-month welding school in Kentucky, had a job soon as he graduated. So it's a big demand in this fabrication. That will, I agree, it will bring people into Bedford, students that will get trained and go out and do the welding, fabrication, and all that. So again, I thank you all. This is much needed.
Thank you.
I thank you for this. When I read it, when I got it in my packet, I love the idea.
Yeah.
I do. But you said something that I've always felt ever since I've been a part of council. You said it's time for us to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always felt like if we have to look at other localities. We have to get ideas from other localities. But we have too great a team not to set our own bar. And I think it's time we did that. And speaking of this, I had a group called the Boys with a Dream. All of them are in college. One just graduated from Liberty University. The rest of them are in college. The last one left just graduated from high school. So we went to his cookout, and he told me, he said he always wanted to go to welding school, take welding classes. He applied somewhere, and he said he couldn't get in it. He was too late. He couldn't get into class. And that's what he wanted to do. So something like this, hey, I thank you for it. I hope that you will move forward with it. The hotel, hey, I love a hotel.
Who doesn't?
I do. I love a hotel. You know, I always said if I hit the lottery, I'm gonna build a hotel, and me and my wife gonna go from room to room. That's the way it's gonna go. But I do. But I think that hotel is so much stuff happening now in Bedford to build Bedford. And when I came on board, I think we were all on the same page. That's what we want to try to do.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do something to retain our youth, so they wouldn't have to leave and go elsewhere. And you know, maybe it's not going to happen during my term, but I'm hoping that we can leave something during our term that's going to make a difference from years and years and years. I would love to see this happen. I would love to see the hotel built, and not. No harm meant, but I'd love to see another one after yours. So if you think you might build two, that's fine too. But I think this is what's gonna bring Bedford here. We have the National D-Day Memorial, which brings in thousands of visitors, you know. And some of these people love Bedford and the surrounding, the scenery, the mountain, they love it. these are people that possibly would think about coming here to retire or coming here to buy a home. But we have to have something to offer them. We have to bring in businesses. We have to open ourselves up. We have to be willing to take a chance on things that we think is gonna bring it in. Thank you for what you're doing. And Mary, I love her. I'll tell you to your face. I love her. I do, because she's been a part of some wonderful things and helped us out with some wonderful things. And she's there when you call her. She always has a nice attitude. And I don't know what she say after she hang up the phone. But anyway, thank you. Thank y'all for what you're doing.
I can't really add to that. I mean, I agree. I mean, you turned lemons into lemonade with Noah. We lost 38 jobs, and you know, it was a tough time, and so appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's the thing that's the reason we were proactive in getting that building before we thought of this, really, because we were afraid it was going to get snagged up and become a warehouse, and we didn't want to see that.
Right.
We didn't have control over it. But
Another storage facility.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's what we were kind of afraid of, or something that just had brought a handful of jobs.
Right.
I think a training facility will actually, we will well pass the 38 that we lost. If you give enough time, it will be
Right.
multiple times that if this is successful.
Right.
The jobs brought to this, based on the tech center, will be much higher. And plus, it's going to help our hotel. The hotel and this thing's probably going to come together about the same time. And so they're both projects are going to support each other.
But we're gonna take that if out of it. When this is successful, okay? We're gonna take that if out of it.
I really, and the foundry aspect is going to take millions. We're going to have to get millions, and that's to get a foundry up and running and self-sustainable. We have a lot of ideas, and there's a lot of grant money out there. We're going after big grants. We're talking multiple million grants to get that part of it. The other part is probably not as much. I think that has a really high probability. But some of the stuff that's happened even this week is really encouraging on the foundry side of it, and that'll put us on the map that nobody else in the whole United States has as a teaching foundry. That will be huge. I'm actually trying to told Virginia Tech, I said we'd love to make it a tech hub. If you guys want to go with us and make it a tech hub. And the problem is with that, I don't know if anybody really knows what that is, but that's a new initiative by the Economic Development Administration out of DC. To get more than 5 places, and there's 5 areas in the United States where 92% of all the federal funding goes to, like Silicon Valley, and they want to add 20 to them and diversify that so federal money goes everywhere. But the higher political players in Virginia said they only want one tech hub proposal coming out of Southwest Virginia instead of competing with the transportation hub out of Blacksburg, a nuclear hub out of Lynchburg. I even heard of a silicon chip hub idea. Milton Steel just doesn't. It's not sexy enough, and it's not something that can compete with those. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Probably not going to happen. But we have other avenues we're working on that's going to really, I think, is really exciting. So we'll see. But we'll let you know as soon as we get to a point where we can. Right now, it's all talk.
One of the things that this does is it gives jobs to folks that don't necessarily want to go to college.
Yes.
That college is not the end-all thing. That vocational training and jobs in industry are still good resources for people to have families and develop.
Oh, you make a lot of money. Yeah,
There's an old book out called Other Ways to Win, which was a professor out of Indiana that talked about this very problem of, because in America we were going away from this, but we need to go back to industry.
Yep.
And making we can do really well on the international basis. So I'm glad to hear it.
I just want to thank you for everything. The hotel's a great news for our community or whatever. I've been here over several of your projects over the years or whatever. The EDA has always done an awesome job for our town or whatever, and you have always done an awesome job to help us out. And then the vocation facility up there, when that does happen, that'll be great for our local economic standpoint. So you know, want to thank our economic director, Mary Circle over here. She does an awesome job what she does. And everything that y'all pretty much put your hands on turns to gold almost.
We've done pretty good.
Jonathan, I echo everybody. You know, this, what you're doing with the Winoa project could be transformative, I think, for this community. It really could. You know, I'm gonna keep stopping you on College Street and getting an update every couple weeks, so, but no, you know, let us know how we can help, you know.
Yeah, I don't, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, the last result would be coming to council for anything monetary, but, the hotel makes sense.
Right.
We try to do things that are within our means. You know, if we fully lease out that, and that's one of the points I guess I didn't make, the EDA does not want to run a school. We aren't capable of running a school. We're all volunteers. So we got to find a way to do that, and that would be find or form a nonprofit, some type of organization that would be self-sustaining. But what I want to do, I look forward to the day we're going to negotiate a 20, 30-year lease to that, whatever that entity is. And then that revenue will come in and supplement us, and then we will be able to do a lot more, because we'll have a lot more money, because that's all going right back to the facility and to other projects.
Right.
So it's an exciting time. So.
Well, thank you for coming tonight and
Thank you.
giving us this update. Appreciate it.
Raw. Go for it.
All right, next item on the agenda is Town Code Matters. Mr. Loxby?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure where to start. I don't think that I'm saying anything that is not pretty well known to council already when I say that the town code has large blocks that need updating. I know that I have been working with Mr. Schoen off and on the utility stuff, because it's still written as though we had a water and sewer system that we operated, which we haven't for quite a while. There are other sections that as we go through, we do updates on, and in order to avoid doing nothing other than work on town code for a month, and your correspondingly then getting a bill for my having done nothing but work on the town code for a month. My strategy as far as updating things has been, when we touch a section of code, when we say, all right, it's time to make a change to section 54-162, I'll go through that article of code and update that article and see if there's any cross references to it someplace else that need to be updated. So far that has worked pretty well, but it has also started to snowball on me a little bit because keep finding things that need updating. Most recently, I think, Mr. Mayor, what has come up is the sections having to do with solid waste. I assume that's what we're here to talk about tonight.
I think we need to get some clarity on that issue.
So, historically, if you go back, and when I say historically, let's go back 30 years, the town had a landfill city at that time had a landfill that it operated. It had a convenience center at that landfill. It had trash pickup throughout the entirety of the city. And every real estate tax bill had added to it a trash fee, and for that trash fee, you got all your trash pickup. And that strategy was very common before. I guess there was a change beginning in the 90s as far as how trash pickup, that entire industry started to change over, and accompanied by that there were some changes in state code. So the way that it had been working was that that was what we did and it worked. What we have run into at this point is that there have been several changes. The town no longer operates a landfill. The town no longer operates a convenience center. We have a transfer station tipping floor, but that's really about it as far as our infrastructure for collection of trash goes. And I'm sure that DW could go through and list about a dozen other important pieces of infrastructure, but from the gross picture of looking at it from DEQ regional plan level, that's what we've got. We also have at the local, looking more granular level, we still do that pickup for a fee, and with that pickup there is weekly trash pickup, weekly recycling pickup, and there is leaf pickup. I believe that's 4 times a year, is that correct?
What's that?
Leaf,
Now, we do that from October through January 31st.
October through January 31st. And then you also have your brush pickup. All of those things are included in that fee. And again, historically, within town, everybody got that, everybody paid for that. It made perfect sense. With the boundary adjustment, there has been an additional difficulty that came into play. And that major difficulty is that, at least from the legal perspective, that major problem is that there are private haulers that have been serving in that territory. And when you have private haulers that are serving in a territory, it is, there's a process that you have to go through in order to displace those private haulers. And so you have several choices about what you want to do within that territory. You can go through the process to displace them and expand sort of the way that it's handled in the rest of the town. And it should be noted that the reversion agreement requires us to extend the same services into that area that we provide to the people within the town. So those people in that area have to have at least the opportunity to take advantage of the town offered services of, if I recall, it's all of those different services for $22 a month. Is that correct?
25.
$25 a month. However, we can't displace these private haulers. Now, there are various things that you can do. You can license them. You can, in order to make sure that they have certain basic, that they meet certain basic criteria as far as quality. You can do a whole variety of different things in that direction, but you can't tell them that they can't operate. And by extension, you can't tell people that they can't use them. And that leads to, I guess, a real discussion on your part about what is it that you want to do as far as people opting out of using town service in the new areas of town, what you want to do with people who may want to opt out of service in the old areas of town, that places that have been in the town for 10, 100 years, however long, and how you want to handle what we call flow control. It has always been the case that all trash within the town has been delivered through the town facilities, and there have been economies of scale that have made the town solid waste management facilities work due to having those economies of scale in order to make the fixed costs of just having all of that infrastructure there, having the recurring costs and the continual replacement of these capital-intensive facilities and things like trucks. A trash truck is not a cheap investment. It is an investment that you frequently will wait a year or two to have the model that you need delivered to you, even after you've placed an order. The final problem is that the town code reflects what we were doing 25 years ago and the assumptions that we had in place 25 years ago. So it needs substantial updating. And before I go and sit down at my desk and spend 3 days trying to update it, it's probably good for you as council to decide what you want it to look like in the future, rather than my just trying to draft it in such a way to make it resemble as closely as possible what you're doing right now.
So obviously, I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about this. So, I mean, short term, I mean, I think we, after talking to Mike and after his explanation tonight, I mean, obviously, we have to give the option to opt out. I mean, you know, that's the legal situation, you know, right now, I believe. And, you know, but what you're opting out, there was a couple things there, Mike, because in that $25, we do not do mandatory recycling anymore, okay?
Oh, well.
And that's still in the, I know, and I don't disagree that, I read the whole code here the last few days, and it needs a major rewrite.
Yes.
But, you know, and we'll talk about that here, just, there's the short term, how we need to explain to our citizens, you know, their options. And then there's the longer term, the bigger discussion, I think, about how we're going to deliver solid waste going forward, and what our expectations are going to be. And I mean, there's financial implications. There's a lot of implications on that that is going to take a more detailed analysis and study and discussion. But so one thing I want to be very clear. I think we need to define right now what you're getting for your $25, okay? So that people do understand what they are opting out of. And you know, I'll say what I think we are, and if anybody says it's got anything different that we, you know, that I may miss or that we need to add, DW, the way I understand it right now, you pay a flat fee of $25 a month, which gets you weekly curbside pickup. It gets you leaf pickup from the months of October to January. It gets you bulk brush cleanup all year long, correct? It gets you junk bulk cleanup. We have 2 cleanups a year, spring and fall, and April and October, where you can put out anything. It doesn't matter what it is, other than hazardous materials and some things. But you know, so it gets you those 2 cleanups. It gets you the use of driving through our transfer station, 500 pounds a month, is that correct? Free. So if you wanted to take some stuff down there, instead of waiting till the trash, you know, picked it up, or waiting until a bulk cleanup, you could do that. I know DW at times, if you've got a specific kind of unique situation, if you'll work with him and schedule him, he'll come out there and pick up a bulk, you know, bulk items. So I just want everyone to understand you're not comparing apples and apples. I mean, the $25 you're going to pay your private hauler is going to get you your weekly trash pickup at your curb. That's it. The $25 you pay the town of Bedford gets you these other services. So I'm not going to make your value judgment for you. Each one of you get to make that value judgment. You know, we're not going to force you to take the service, you know, but I just want everyone, because it seems like there's a lot of misinformation out there right now about what you get for our $25 service fee. So that's all. Did I leave any Did I mischaracterize or leave any of those services DW? Did I cover everything there?
And I will say this, I normally take my brush to the landfill. If I trim a tree, cut down a small tree or something, I've got a little wagon, the trailer, I'll put it in there and take it myself, go across the scales, weigh, and they do accept brush. The landfill itself is closed, except brush, and they also have a dumpster there. If you have any kind of metal, anything, wood products, anything like that, or outside of anything that can't be taken to the landfill on the brush side, you can throw it in the dumpster. So it does get you a little more than just trash pickup. But again, as Tim said, that's your decision. It's nothing that we're forcing on you. The town is not. It's your decision. You want to keep what you have, then certainly, keep what you got.
So obviously DW has been getting a lot of trash, containers and a lot of emails, a lot of calls. So obviously we're going to have to be flexible and understand that that's going to have an impact on our revenues and but also on our expenses. So I mean, if we're not collecting it, we're not being charged to take it to the county. We'll have to kind of monitor that. I know Ann and them has probably done some analysis. I don't know how much we want to get deep into it tonight. Tell me what or if you just want to clarify. We definitely need to study the issue.
Yeah, that's my thinking.
Long term, we need to figure out what's the best way to provide the service at the most economical and efficient way. And I think there are a lot of, DW and I have had a lot of conversations this week. There are ideas there, how we can do that. We have options.
Yes.
We don't have any decisions to make tonight.
No.
We need to know about this, and we need to think about it, we need to talk to Ann, we need to talk to W, and I'm gonna listen to them.
Yes, and we need to decide, do we want to do that through a work session, through a meeting, through a committee structure? Do we want to give it some time to see how this, plays out? And
That would be my thought, and that give this time to see, if it's, how many it is, if it does come into the town part, current town residents, then certainly we'll gauge it, and I know Ann will keep tabs on the money end of it. So yeah, we'll look at it then, and maybe a work session will be in order. But again, the only thing we probably need to do tonight is clarify what we're doing and what's involved in all that, and then later on we'll gauge it and monitor it and
Now,
go from there.
The people in this reversion, are they still getting private pickup, or the ones that have, are they still getting it?
this wouldn't, the trash fee and everything wouldn't have taken effect till July 1st.
Right.
Obviously, we were getting our trash cans out there in anticipation of that taking effect July 1st.
But I'm asking, are they still getting the service, their private service?
They will, yes.
Until we take over?
No, they will still, if they want to opt for the private hauler, they'll still be allowed to.
And of course, we knew that Smith was retiring, but Bays has taken over. So, yeah.
Sharp.
Yeah, Sharp, excuse me, Sharp. But yeah, Bays has taken over, so, yeah.
I think we need some time to go over this. Talk, figure out some things.
So Mike, we'll try to figure out a way,
Yeah.
in DW, to.
Yeah, one thing I just want to get clear tonight, if you can clear it up for me. So we know that you're speaking about the new areas can opt out. How about the people that already currently have been in town residents? Because we're starting to get those calls now.
I think me personally, I think we need to be consistent. I don't think we need to have two sets of rules for an old set of, we're all one town now.
Yeah. And then one other
That's
thing.
my take, but that's.
Yeah.
And one other thing I will clear up for you, on the trash that we take to the county, being county residents, we are able to dispose of residential trash at no cost at the county.
Right, we don't get charged.
Yeah,
So-
our trash truck picks up the trash and goes to the county landfill because per the reversion agreement, county residents are able to take trash there, so we don't get charged. We get charged for commercial, but not residential.
I think some time need to pass, because I think a lot of this is misinformation or anger or what. I don't know where this came from. I'm just trying to understand why you, like I said, we just need some time to talk about it. But it is their right not to take. You know, we're not trying to talk you into it if you don't want to do it. I'm just trying to figure out why.
And some other questions that Ann and I discussed we bring up. So if people opt out, they go 2 months, they want to opt back in, opt back out.
No,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's gonna be part of, we're definitely gonna have to do some, come up with some parameters, some rules. I mean, the code right now allows the town manager to set rules around that. I mean, of course, we need to be involved, you know, but, yeah, I mean, you can't go in 1 month and out the next and without.
Well, it's a lot of work, not only on the, you know, as far as pickup wise, but also the billing part of it.
Right.
The software at the landfill has everybody's residential address in there, so when you come in, you give your address, so we would have to define those areas, and that's, you know, that's a lot of work in 3 different areas.
And there, one of the other comments for some of the people I've talked to is, you know, we don't really have like an inactive status. Say, you know, a house goes vacant for 3 months. They go to Florida for the
or
winter,
Myrtle Beach,
or they're, the one person I talked to, their parents have been moved into a facility and, you know, they're gonna keep the house and eventually move in it, you know, but they wanna, you know, and then they'll take the service in. So I think there needs to be some kind of rules or parameters around an inactive status. So I think there's a lot we can do to make this code a whole lot better.
Yes, much
and
better.
provide a lot more clarity.
If I can, Mr. Lockerbie, as far as that issue the DW addressed, that's something that I don't think we can wait too long on, because if we have people saying 1 week on, 1 week off, that's not gonna fly. So
No.
that's something we need to address soon.
Soon.
How soon could we address that?
Well, we could have an interim rule in place as soon as the town manager's back.
Right.
Because the
So
town
that's something,
manager-
if there's a problem in the short term, we can address
Right.
through the way the code is written as it is right now.
As a
Correct.
rule established
By the town manager, he has the authority.
He has
Okay.
the authority to do that.
Okay.
There are other parts of the ordinance that give me more heartburn, but as far as when and on what rotation people can sign up, that would, or go on to an active versus inactive status, that could be put in place by the town manager.
Is there anything you think we need to do, say, within the next 30 days?
No.
Us? Okay.
You might want to repeal the mandatory recycling ordinance.
I think we should do anything like that
Right.
soon. It's just dead. It's dead language.
You know,
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
Bruce?
okay, my personal opinion is, yeah, not only should people have an option to opt out if they choose to, but if they decide later on they want to opt in, they should be able to do that. They should be able to look and see what's the better value for them, what's the better service, the private trash collector they're paying right now or us. They should be able to have all the facts, be able to make an informed decision and go whatever they believe is the best value, whether it's going with the town service or a private service.
Bruce, you're not shopping at a grocery store.
Yeah, I know that, but
Okay, so you can't say today, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
We have to figure this out.
I think,
They have to figure it out. If they don't wanna do it, fine, but we have to figure it out so that, to make sure that we got the clarity on when you can do it and how, whether you can do that or not. But it's not like we shopping. We're not doing this.
I think the clarification of what Director of Public Works wants to know is the older part of town was already being provided services where he's getting some phone calls on. I think he needs some
I think
clarification.
that was answered. They can opt out.
They can,
Yep.
I mean, does everybody agree? I mean, that we should be consistent?
I don't think we have the choice.
I don't think we do either. I mean, so,
And I think we can come up with a fee based on if somebody's wanting to come back in, because it's gonna take some extra.
And Mr. Warner's gonna need to address that one.
yeah,
We can address
exactly.
that
I
in a
mean,
separate.
there really should be,
You know,
I mean,
even if you decide you're gonna come up, somebody decide they want, we can't jack up a fee for them if they decide. We just have to figure out if they can decide to come back in and when. And if they do, but we can't jack up fees and do all of that. That's gonna create more problems.
Yep.
So we can't do that. We just have to have a conversation and get some clarity on this and be done with it, you know?
So, I mean, obviously, DW is wondering, I mean, right now, is there, you know, do we need to set a time? Is it gonna be ongoing? I mean, that people can keep opting out, or do we need a time that we would like to know this first group? I mean, obviously, over time, there will be people opting in and out.
Yeah.
You know, but
Right now, it's everybody opting out, there's nobody opting in, that's for sure.
right.
You know,
But if they opt out now, are they gonna be able to opt back in
Tim,
next month?
Tim, in the interim, Mr. Warner's gonna have to.
Make some rules
and
on
then-
that.
Right, we have time to get together and make hopefully a
Long-term
wise,
decision.
long-term decision. In the short term, the town manager, that's his call. That's my understanding. Is
Yeah.
that what you heard?
That's what I hear too in the
Okay.
code. Okay. And it put a little bit of stuff together, just in some preliminary, you know, financial stuff, just to give us some, just start our thinking about, you know, where this might, go, what our costs look like, you know, for the $25. So I don't know, and if you would like to go ahead and, if y'all want that information, just to have to mull over.
This?
Yes,
Yeah,
just,
I got it.
yeah, just to give us her kind of preliminary analysis. I think this would be kind of just for us to start thinking about and understanding. So, Ann, do you want to kind of go with what you?
Sure. Yes, Mayor, so before you have a chart that basically goes over what that $25 fee covers, and we've allocated it on a percentage basis on budget. So 18% of that is administration cost, 30% is curbside pickup, 10% is bulk and brush, 15% is for closed landfill costs, 18% is the current open landfill operations like our transfer station, and 9% is debt service that we have outstanding on refuse equipment. And then this year, we didn't have anything in capital, so that was at 0%. And if you look at the bottom of the page, we break it out, taking the $25 times those percentages. So if you take a curbside pickup is 30% of the budget, you can multiply that by $25, and it's $7.50 is our cost for curbside pickup specifically. And then on the back page, just to keep you in the loop on, well, what does this happen to our forecasted revenues and expenditures? Having more customers keeps our fee lower because we're able to take those fixed costs and we're able to spread it across a higher customer base. So as your customer base goes down, you have less people to spread the fixed costs over. So at our current budget, if you take our budgeted revenue divided by number of accounts, it actually costs $27.81 per account. So we're at a deficit right now of $2.81 at our, this is if we had everyone participate in the town, including the boundary adjustment. So if you lost 500 customers, how would that impact you? Well, your monthly cost to the town would be $33.18. We're charging $25, so we would be at a deficit of $8.18. And then the analysis further goes, if you lose 1,000 customers, what does that do to our monthly cost? Well, to recoup that cost, it would be $41.13. Our fee structure is $25, so we would actually be at a deficit of $16.13 per month per account.
But so let me just make sure, because I mean, this is first we've seen this. Obviously, we'll dig into it more. But this only counts the residential customers, right? This does not take into the count the revenue we collect from commercial customers.
Correct. So this is the billing revenue for
Just the
residential
$25
customers
fee.
divided by the number of accounts.
Okay, so obviously some of that would be offset by, and some of it has been offset by taxes, you know,
Correct.
the landfill. Just to kind of tell us, you know, explain the back history a little bit. I guess it was maybe 3-4 years ago, we were at $20, And when we were at $20, we were not counting the cost of landfill monitoring and landfill
Correct.
closure.
Right.
And we were paying for that strictly with general fund taxes. All right, so we had this set up as an enterprise zone, enterprise fund, and we said, well, you know, those are costs that should be attributed to the solid waste, so we should move those over there. You know, and if we're going to run an enterprise fund, we should try to recover all those costs with our fee. And we made that first step to go to $25. But we knew, just so everybody knows, we knew we were not making up the hole at that point.
Right.
So, you know, and now's not the time, you know, but we're going to have to figure, you know, if we keep this same enterprise fund model, we're going to have to figure out some, you know, how to make up that hole at some point in time. But that's how we kind of changed, right, DW? I'm make sure I'm saying all this right. That's the history behind how we went from $20 to $25. But, you know, so now we're at another pivot point. You know, how are we gonna, you know, do we kind of roll it back out of an enterprise fund and just make it a department under the general fund? You know, those are the discussions we're gonna have to talk about. Because, you know, there may be areas we can save, you know. I've asked DW to kind of look and see how much the landfill, opening the landfill on Saturday, how much usage is he getting for that? I mean, we're open 4 hours on Saturday, we're paying overtime. You know, is it getting very much use? Probably not.
No.
So there's a whole bigger discussion here that we're gonna have, and you know, so that's gonna take some time, but in the meantime, you know, we've got the clarity out there now.
Yeah.
About the opt-in, opt-out. We'll
I
let
think the
Bart
short
make-
term, you have the short-term answers you need, right?
Right.
Okay, so we gotta figure out when we're all gonna get together and.
Yeah, so
Talk
when
about
Bart gets back, we'll figure out the best way to do that, schedule a session, start digging into some of these more detailed, questions you all have, and just start putting our brains together, see what we can figure out.
Okay.
All right, fair enough?
Fair enough.
Good deal.
All right. So the next item, Mr. Lockley, any other town code matters? Where are we on everything we have to do from a legal standpoint on the, you know, be ready to go from July 1st? Are there any other items we need to be taken care of? I know you've been working on some things.
Yeah, we have sent out notices to all of the different state and federal agencies that we are required to. The next thing is to file a petition for a writ of election. As you know, there's going to be a special election this fall at which all 7 seats on council will be up for election.
All right.
Be further information on that coming up. I will probably put before you a resolution authorizing me to file that petition at the next council meeting. Ms. Cantrell, Ms. Zirkle, and I have been working on getting our business, professional, and occupational licensing tax ordinance brought into the third decade of the 21st century. And that has been something that I think will be ready to go also at your next meeting. So I believe that Ms. Cantrell is also going to have a couple of policies that we're required to have. Grants management policy, which is required because we're now on a regular basis managing more than $750,000 in federal funds. We also need to have, for the same reason, a Title VI and limited English proficiency policy, which is required under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, because we're now getting enough money trickle down to us from the Federal Highway Administration that we're required to have that as a matter of maintaining our roads. So there's a lot of these things that we're pulling together that are just random compliance getting into the third decade of 21st century stuff.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you. All right, so, next item, is, a motion, we need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2.23711A3 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended for the acquisition or disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position related to a public park. And this is a further discussion about our negotiations on Edmund Street Park.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Showen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson? Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes. the town of Bedford hereby certifies that one only public business closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the council.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stanley, you seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johannesson?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
We're adjourned.
Okay.